So what are the other instruments in that family? Cello, yeah. There's a violin, yeah. Viola, yeah. Nobody ever knows viola. Yeah, it's a funny thing about viola players. They all have complexes, you know, because all they do is they play they play the offbeats and everything. So when they practice their scales, they actually start on the second note and play every other note when they practice scales. It's an unfortunate thing that they have to do as violists. I'll get letters for that. Okay. So to give you an idea of comparison, hey guys, as a comparison, if I was going to play the sound of a violin, which is the smallest, so it's the highest, it would be something like in a pitch up here. So that's something like a violin. Now, if I wanted to play a viola is bigger, so the sound is what? It's lower, yeah. Okay, it's lower because it's bigger, it's lower. So viola is going to sound something like this. So that's something like the sound of a viola. Now, the next biggest instrument is the cello. You sit on a chair, and it's a deeper sound, and it's going to sound something like this. So that's something like the sound of a cello. Now, the biggest and the lowest, and the best, is what? The bass. Okay, so the bass is going to sound something like, actually it's going to sound a lot like this. That's the sound of the bass. Now, I want to play something just really quickly because two of my neighbors just showed up here. And let me find this piece. I want to play it. This is special for my neighbors here. Okay? Hopefully they'll appreciate this. Here we go. Yes, you recognize the piece? We have some Mexican neighbors, and I thought I would play that special for them while I thought of it. Okay, Cielito Lindo. Okay. Now, I've been using this thing, guys. What is this? It's a bow. Okay, you don't shoot arrows with it. It's like a violins. All string players use this thing, and it's a piece of wood, and it's got this stuff on it. Any idea what this is? It's horsehair. Okay. Now, the story about the origination of the bow is that what they would do once upon a time is they would get the horse and they would put the horse right here, and they would take the stick and they would tie the stick to the tail of the horse, and the horse would go back and forth and back and forth. Makes no sense, does it? Because the horse kept running away with the stick. So eventually they figured out they could just simply cut the tail off the end of the horse, and they would have a modern bow. Or not. I read it on the internet, so it's got to be true. Anyway, so if I'm gonna play something without the bow, I'm gonna test your musical knowledge, guys. Ari, you're a teacher. What are these? Fingers. All right, so your musical knowledge is also quite significant. Yes. So these are fingers. All right, and I pull a string and I'm plucking the string. But you got to remember, I am a highly educated professional musician, and as such, I do nothing in English. Everything we do is in another language. It makes everybody very impressed. You know, it's like doctors talking in Latin. So there's a word we use for fingers. Any idea? Pizzicato. Okay. So if you want to try and remember, think of pizza. Pizzicato. All right. So if I'm gonna play pizzicato, it's gonna be something like, well, it's gonna be like this. Pizzicato. Okay. Now, I want to pay. Now that you've seen. By the way, the word for the bow is that we use. The Italian word is arco, or stick. So there's pizzicato and there's arco. Now I'm going to play a piece for you. It's not one that you're going to go. You're going to go and sing when you leave here. It's there's no real tune to it, but it was written by a well-respected composer, a bass player named Bertram Turetsky. And he wrote it, and he calls this Lou Harrison. And Lou Harrison was a friend of his and also a very highly respected 20th century composer. And so, but what's going to make this a little different is I'm going to use 3 different techniques when I play this. All right, there'll be 3 different ways that I'm playing, and I'm going to ask you at the end what it was I did. That was Lou Harrison by Bertram Turetsky. I know it's very exciting. You're all thrilled to death. But it's actually kind of a fun piece. But I used 3 different techniques. So would you remember, knowing what you do now, from what I told you before, how did I play the beginning? What technique did I use to play the beginning? Right? Remember plucking. So it was pizzicato. Okay? Then I did what? I used the bow. So that was called arco, okay? And then, here's the one. I used a new technique. What did I do for the third way of playing? What was that?
I don't know the name. I think there's like a flat way.
Well, actually, I played with this stick, okay? But this isn't just any old stick. Okay, this is a chopstick. All right, and just so you know, I'm not making this thing up. It actually says play with a chopstick. So I'm not just doing this for no particular reason. All right. Now, like everything else, it has a special name. So what do you figure we call a chopstick?
A chopstick.
Yes, Diane, you win the prize. In fact, it is a chopstick. Okay, I don't know of any other name for it. Maybe Eric Weiss will tell me at the end of the show if there's another name for chopstick.